I'm Mary Hanson Harrison. I'm the newly re-elected, go figure, president of the U.S. section of WILPF. An educator, a native Iowan raised on a dairy farm, a mother and grandmother. I would like us to take a moment to think of all the women who aren't here tonight and who are here. Women who don't often get praised enough, but have done plenty. So when we think of our own women who have affected our lives, let's give them a big roaring applause. Thank you. %70 of the women around the world go hungry. 70% of the women in the world go hungry every day. And the irony, of course, is that 70% of the world's food production is in the hands of women around the world. And that disparity, folks, is why we are not called the International League for Peace and Freedom. What are we called?
Women's.
The Women's, say it again.
Women's.
The Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. We break bread here together for those women, local, in the nation, and around the world, who carry the water, plant the seeds, weed the rows, cook and sell the product of their labor. I grew up with women working in the fields, driving the tractors, oh my God, walking the beans, milking the cows, and still making harvest dinners. How many of you grew up on a farm? Yeah, right. How many of you remember the harvesters coming in at noon and the table spread with a good deal of pride, a magnificent spread? How many of you remember that? How many of you? Yes, right. And the women always waited until the men finished. I never thought that was very fair. So that was my first lesson for becoming a feminist. But these Norman Rockwell memories hid the price we paid and are still paying. And that is why we honor Winona Hodder here tonight. She authored 2 investigative works that are in the tradition of the Standard Oil-busting journalism of Ida Tarbell during Roosevelt and Taft's breaking up the monopolies. And what party did they belong to? Anybody remember? What party did they belong to?
Democrats.
No, they were Republicans. Oh well. We can only sigh. Yes. Tonight we have Foodopoly, the battle over the future of the food and farming in America. And on June 7th, we have Frackopoly, what Winona is going to speak about tonight. That's the battle of the future of energy and the environment. She has dedicated her life to the basic human right to survive and thrive, food and water. But more than that, safe food and water. The nourishment of our civilization from Mother Earth is under siege. It is being pillaged and raped by multinational corporations, the new robber barons of the golden age of exploitation. Winona Hodder exemplifies the new age of our new age of participating in and writing about grassroots organizing and the forcing of policy changes, changing the system. For instance, Food and Water Watch helped the New Yorkers against fracking, that fracking coalition, and with the help of many other organizations, Governor Cuomo banned fracking in New York. Food and Water Watch delivered over 20,000 petition signatures to the Department of Health and Human Services in Flint, Michigan, urging them to provide the help Flint residents need. And they're still active. They're still active. They still support and are supporting continuously, and maybe Winona could talk about this, supporting the real GM labeling and not the DARK Act. Does anybody know what the DARK Act stands for? Deny Americans the right to know. Senator Roberts' bill, in case you were wondering. Also, there are more examples that she will give us tonight, I'm sure, and they played out for high stakes for us all, for our lives. Yes, we are haunted by our failures, to be sure. But the imperative is, as Nona puts it, we must recognize we share a global commons, and we must build the political power to protect it for future generations. We are not an industrial product. We must imagine a different world. We must dream with our hands, hand in hand, to chart a way out of the labyrinth, out of the morass of pessimism and hopelessness that permeates our culture. And we aren't going to go quietly into that good night. I want to remind everybody that 2 of our Strong Feisty Women Award winners were arrested last month in Washington, D.C. That was for Democracy Awakening protest, Frances Moore LePay and Winona Hodder. I don't know if this should be the gold standard or not, but we have actually 4 Strong Feisty Women Award recipients who have had that distinction of being in jail. Sherry is one of them, right, Sherry? Overnight, right? Rita Hohenschel for 3 months in a federal prison for trespassing on Fort Benning versus the School of America. The uprising is here, folks. Civil disobedience, a call to trespass, to transgress the borders of color, gender, and class, and breach the walls of discrimination is here. And if poet Alice Walker, a longtime WILPF supporter, were here tonight, she would say, be nobody's darling. Be an outcast. Take the contradictions of your life and wrap around you like a shawl to parry stones to keep you warm. Watch the people succumb to madness with ample cheer. Let them look askance at you, and you askance reply. Be an outcast. Be pleased to walk alone. Uncool. Or line the crowded riverbeds with other impetuous fools. Make a merry gathering on the bank where thousands perished for brave, hurt words they said. And I have the privilege tonight to introduce nobody's darling, who can parry the stones of corporate power with the best of them, Winona Hodder.